What's going on, guys? Blighted Ashes here. I'm here to debunk this little myth. Not really debunk. Really, I'm just making a rebuttal video about the skills utilized by the TYT organization to manipulate its viewers into believing a lot of false notions and the narrative that they use these skills to push. They really enjoy putting out other organizations' studies, organizations that are literally biased organizations. New York Times is obviously biased when it comes to studies and all that sort of thing when it comes to gun control and et cetera, et cetera. Now here we go. Here's what we're gonna watch right now. We're going after it right now.
The top problem that is causing all this gun violence in America. Now, I have the actual facts, but I am curious to see what Americans think.
I have the actual facts, but I'm curious to see what Americans think. Pretty condescending right there. I mean, he doesn't care about what the American people think, obviously. But I mean, he only cares what liberals think. Not what both sides of the aisle think when it comes to gun regulation and things like of that nature.
58% of the 808 respondents, according to Slate, said stricter gun laws could have prevented the shooting, but a larger portion, 77%, said better mental health monitoring and treatment would have averted it. Now,
this is absolutely correct. Better mental health would have caught this guy. All schools need child psychologists to be working at each school. They need less physical training and more of the mental health that we need in our schools for our children to grow and interact properly, because we live in a different time than we used to, and things that were okay back in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s are not okay today when it comes to school. So we do need more child psychology and more anti-bullying and more of this sort of thing, so people don't go crazy and pull more school shootings because their mental health was affected.
It's definitely not the mental health issue. I'll explain why in a second. It is the guns. But I want to give you one more piece. So the poll here, 80% of Republicans who responded blamed mental health, while only 33% of Democrats did the same.
Still, 33 is a huge amount of Democrats that would respond the same way. Again, there are some common sense people on the left side of the on the left side of the spectrum that think mental health is a big issue in the United States of America. But I mean, obviously, mental health isn't a big issue to Cenk Uygur over here. He tends to discredit that, but then at the same time, they'll bash on people. Their followers will bash on people with mental health issues like autism and such like that. But I mean, that's where that's going. That bias against mental health studies and everything else.
So as usual, we're a split country, and your interpretation of the facts depends on what side of the fence you're on, which, by the way, is fine, your interpretation of the facts. Unfortunately, a lot of times it is simply what facts you choose to believe is also dependent on which side of the fence you're on. So let's give you the real facts. New York Times did a story about the studies on gun violence a little bit earlier. So here is one of the conclusions. If mental health made a difference, then data would show that Americans have more mental health problems than do people in other countries with fewer mass shootings.
Okay. Not necessarily. It would correlate with the size of our population versus the size of theirs. But, you know, there we go, Mr. Cenk Uygur over here. But he's also saying that whenever you get a gun, and you're going to hear it for yourself, whenever you get a gun, you're likely to go to a school and shoot people up because you're not mentally ill, you know?
But the mental health care spending rate in the United States, the number of mental health professionals per capita, and the rate of severe mental disorders are all in line with those of other wealthy countries. So we have the same amount of mental health problems as anyone else does, but we have...
Again, I would like to emphasize, I mean, where are they getting these studies from? I need to know because I want to look at them for myself. What TYT likes to do is they like to use another organization, another news organization that reports on such things so that they don't have to cite exactly what and use what study and whatnot to prove or disprove what is going on. So, I mean, then again, that right there is also a red flag. Cenk Uygur likes to do that shit all the fucking time. Hang on just a second. Yeah, he likes to do this sort of thing all the time. Let's continue.
Have a ton more mass shootings and gun homicides. Why? Because we allow our mentally ill to buy weapons incredibly easily. Same percentage of mentally ill, ours are just weaponized. Literally. So here I'll show you another graph here.
All right, so check out this graph here. This graph is showing mass shooters from 1966 to 2012. Okay, in 1966, mental health was a way different issue back in 1966. Mental health was not something that was heavily emphasized on. The only time you ever saw anything talking about real mental health was movies like Halloween, was movies like, you know, other horror movies that involved, you know, mental health asylums and, you know, haunted asylums and things like that. Those are the only times that you heard about, you know, mental health. Again, what Cenk Uygur is trying to do is propose that a different time indicates the now. That is preposterous, and that is a straw man argument right there. 1966 to 2012. That's bullshit. Okay, that's not 2017. All right, in 2016, there was 107 people killed by mass shooters. All right, 107. There was 11,004 people killed by guns in the United States. And only 107 of them were from mass shooters. Okay, again, 11,004 people were killed by guns in the United States in 2016. I mean, that's a lot of people. 107 were killed by mass shooters. This includes the mass shooting of the people in Orlando, the gay club with the 49 people that were killed by the one gunner. Yeah. Now, that does not correlate with this year or last year. So far, this last year, I believe less people have been killed um, in mass shootings. Wait, no. We had that big shooting in California, I believe, at that country concert. Um, but again, Cenk Uygur is using a technique that uses the past, way in the past, to indicate what the now is. Now, what the now is in 2016 is that mass shootings only accrued for the bottom 1/100th of 1.4% of violent crime. That's a very low number. They want to, liberals want to go after the top 1/10 of 1%, and they go after the bottom 1/100th of 1.4% when it comes to crime. I mean, and that's really sad. I mean, there's plenty of numbers that the FBI have brought out that is um, that are higher in violent crime, and I believe rape is one of those. You know how many people a year are affected by rape and never recover due to mental health, mental health, mental health. I mean, again, Cenk wants to bring up that old theory that mental health is not the issue. Mental health is not the issue. Be right back.
Another bipartisan push this past session was to improve access to mental. State lawmakers expanded a grant program that targets
Check it out. They're expanding mental health emphasis in Texas. Isn't that amazing? I live in Texas. Texas is awesome. I love having all the freedoms that I have in Texas that, people in New York City and Massachusetts and, all of these liberalized states like California don't have, I really enjoy being able to, I really enjoy being able to go to a Sonic drive-in and get a 44-ounce Coke. I really enjoy the fact that here in Texas, truck drivers can drive a little bit longer if you're staying in the state. I really enjoy how I have a speed limit of 75 miles per hour on the highway. Granted, I'm a safe driver with no driving record, no tickets. Ooh. In fact, I have to be because I am a security officer. Being a security officer, I have to take classes. I don't have to take classes, but my company requires me to take classes, which is funny because they're not paying me for these classes unless I'm at work taking them. And I mean that's just hilarious. And they're like, "We're going to get you a raise if you take the class, buddy. You're going to work up in the company." But no, that doesn't ever happen. Don't ever believe anything a security company tells you. Just so you know. I mean, even though I'm working for the security company, we're actually the highest rate paid for non-commissioned security officers, which, by the way, schools should invest in. I think states should invest in non-commissioned security for their schools, and also have constant patrols and checks of outside doors every hour, varied at times, because whenever you vary a patrol, you can catch a perp doing something if they know that you're not going to be there at a specific time. These schools, I mean, these liberals, what they're doing is automatically, guns. Guns did it. Okay, well, in 2016, one of the mass shootings that happened, it killed a family of like 8 people, or like 8 people in total. One of the mass shootings, that mass shooting in particular, it was like in Ohio or something. A guy used an axe. What? These people are crazy. You're going to use an axe to chop people up while you're shooting them too? The hell? I mean, these people are mentally deranged, but yet, liberals want you to know they're not mentally deranged. They're they got a gun and they think they got all the power in the world. They're going to kill people. No. Most people buy a gun for protection. If they feel unsafe, they'll buy a gun for protection. If, personally, I don't have a gun. I don't own a gun. To be honest. I have children, and one of my children literally gets into everything. He has autism, but he has that sort of autism where he can literally figure out security devices and get past them. Other children cannot get past those anti-children door handles. My son can do that. He can open a door handle that has those little white balls on them that prevent children from opening them. You have to squeeze the little tabs on the side to squeeze the door handle to turn it. Yeah, my son. He was 4 years old. He was 3 years old whenever he figured it out. Do you imagine how small his hands are? No, he figured out how to open that door. So, keeping a gun in my house is not a good idea because he gets into everything. Even stuff that's in my closet. He pulled out my old Xbox 360, the white one. It's dead from the red ring of death, but I still have it for some reason or another. I don't know why. Anyways, back to the issue of mental health. Texas is increasing mental health. Let Spectrum News explain that to you.
Mental health. Our Jeff Stensland explains how the collaborative gives communities more control over meeting their needs.
Mental illness isn't something you can detect with a stethoscope or blood pressure cuff. But Greg Hanch with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, says it affects large swaths of Texans.
We're talking about one in 5 adults with a diagnosable mental health condition, about 1 in 17 children with a serious emotional disturbance.
He says the state, for years, put mental health funding on the back burner. Hanch says those patients ended up in prisons and emergency rooms, but that's quickly changing through a new grant program.
It leverages ideas from local communities. It's not a one-size-fits-all model for the state of Texas.
Small counties can draw down state grants with a 50% local match. Large counties are eligible for a 1-to-1 match. Representative Price says local control is key.
These are things that, if a particular community really needs something, now they've got a place to go to draw down the money to get it.
Representative Price chairs a committee that was formed in 2015 during that legislative session focused on treating and addressing mental illness. He says that in the past 2 years, they have focused and delved into the issue, hoping to bring Texas ahead.
We're broadening our capacity, we're helping our state hospitals, we're doing a lot of things that needed to be done.
State law also now requires insurance providers to treat mental and physical health the same.
This now empowers the state of Texas, several different state agencies, to be doing proactive enforcement,
providing patients an ability to lodge complaints in an effort to improve health services for body and mind. Jeff Stensland, Capital Tonight.
Doesn't that sound amazing? The great state of Texas moving up in the world. And this is with it being a red state. Is it really that far, off to think that mental health is not a huge issue in the United States when it comes to gun ownership? But Mr. Uygur Booger, using that little straw man theory, you get a gun, you're gonna kill people. That's for sure. There's so many guns out there that so many more people are gonna die. I guarantee you, if I wanted to kill somebody, whether I had a gun or not, I would find a way. Dead serious. The argument literally makes no sense. The gun argument for liberals literally makes No sense at all. Part of the fact is the statistics. Statistics showing 1.4% of violent crime is murder with a firearm. Or, no, just murder, period. And about 20% of that is not with a firearm. Maybe 30%. Not sure exactly. I have to look at the math again. But it's 20 to 30% is without a firearm. Which, that's a fair amount. Well, you got to look at the statistics, too, for how many people illegally obtain a firearm, Mr. Cenk Uygur. How many people illegally obtain a firearm? Look at those statistics. You need to call your people back. You need to tell them that they're fired. You need to tell them to shut the hell up when it comes to the New York fucking Times, because the New York Times is a biased organization. Okay? Now let's continue on with our YouTube viewing.
I can show you dozens of these, but here's one that I think is illustrative and have been showing you throughout the week.
Oh yeah, remember, this is from 1966 to 2012. There were different gun laws back then than there are now. In 1966, you have to, if you're going to do a study like this, you have to correlate the actual gun laws with the years that these events took place. And this is obviously biased data. Okay, so again, this data is wrong. Cenk needs to rethink his gun argument, and I find it ridiculous that any young people, listen to him. I'm only 27 years old. Actually, I'm only 26. I don't turn 27 till the 28th of March. But seriously, I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese. I'm just letting you know. I'm letting you guys know I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese, okay? All right. Anyways. Seriously, there are different gun laws. So they have to change it to where it makes a difference based on what have you. You understand what I'm saying? If a different gun law was back, from 1966, and I believe in 1991 or 1994 or something like that, I heard assault weapons were actually banned. And they were banned for like 10 years. And then the Department of Justice decided to unban them because it didn't work. It didn't make a difference. So, again, Cenk, using another news organization's data, using data that is obviously biased against the gun control data. So, I mean, checking it out. Let's continue on here.
This is a chart that shows you how much guns there are in a country, and then how many mass shootings there are. The U.S. is
how many guns there are in the country and how many mass shootings there are.
For one, Russia has a huge amount of guns, and from 2016 alone, there was like 8 or 9 mass shootings. So, hey, that's just Russia for you. I mean, look at the data right there. It says that there's less than 40 mass shootings in Russia from 1966 to 2012. I wouldn't put it past that because Russia was a heavily communist state. So how can you use that data against the Russians? Nobody could even afford a gun in Russia back in 1966, between 1966 and 1991. That's fucking hilarious. Again, Cenk using mishap data to forward an agenda that's bullshit.
Almost off the chart on the upper right corner. We have way more guns than everyone else, and we have way more mass shooters than anyone else. All the other countries are in the lower left corner, not a lot of guns and not a lot of mass shootings. Rocket science, I know.
Oh, rocket science. Rocket science, guys. Rocket science. Data and statistics is rocket science, you guys. You hear that? It's fucking rocket science. Looking at data and analyzing the percentages and such things. Freaking hilarious. Rocket science, guys. Rocket science. I'm a rocket scientist. Did you know that? Because I'm calling Cenk's bullshit for his wrong statistics and his biased statistics using other news organizations so that his organization can't be blamed for bullshit statistics. He could just say, well, the New York Times, they were biased with their data because it was our mistake for using their data because their data was wrong in the first place. That was my bad. I didn't know. I thought the New York Times was a trustworthy organization when it came to the gun control argument. And I just want to apologize publicly because that's what I'm good at. Because I'm a liberal, I'm just good at apologizing publicly. Well, that's what I do. And then I complain about gun control all the time, even though the statistics I use are complete bullshit because they include countries that are heavily in the communist era of politics, and the countries were so poor you couldn't afford a gun anyways. It's fucking hilarious. Yeah.
So you can have an opinion that mental health is the main thing.
I mean, again, you can have an opinion that mental health is the issue, but the issue is that you own a gun. So fuck you. Get rid of it. You're a fucking douchebag for owning a gun. You're gonna kill everybody. You're gonna kill all the little children's in the Americas because you own a gun, dude. That's it. I mean, just get rid of it. Just throw it in the trash, guy. Just throw it in the incinerator with the bullets. Let the bullets shoot around in the incinerator because obviously you don't know how to handle a gun because you're going to mass kill everybody with that gun anyways. So, I mean, fuck yourself, guy. I mean, don't look at the FBI statistics because the FBI is an unbiased organization. Look at the New York Times statistics where they use 1966 as a valid argument in 2017 whenever it counts as freaking it's a communist era. It's a completely different era.
That's driving the gun shootings and the mass shootings in America, but it just isn't true.
But it just isn't true, guys. It just isn't true. Just isn't true that this fine young gentleman that walked into a school wasn't mentally ill. He wasn't bullied in school. They literally said that, yeah, we would expect you to shoot up a school. You know what it feels like to be told that they would expect you to shoot up a fucking school? You know the kind of bullshit that is? All right. I was that guy in high school. I was that quiet kid who was also goofy as fuck. It would say, some random shit, dude. And I would, make dinosaur noises and stuff sometimes to make people laugh. But then I would, I was, really quiet in, late high school, and I started dressing in black, and I was a little goth, I wore one sleeve up and one sleeve down, and then I would wear a sleeve in the sleeve that was up. I would wear a long sleeve shirt under that was a dark brown or a grayish color, and mix and match that way. Raising my sleeves and lowering my sleeves, and I thought I was cool and edgy and shit. Hold on. And you don't know what it's like because a couple of the girls agreed, and they were like, "Yeah, I think you would be a mass shooter at our school. I mean, I think we're gonna put that in the yearbook." And I mean, it was a joke, but it kind of seemed like it was serious at the same time, and I kind of I didn't appreciate that. It's not good whenever almost there. Shit. Okay, sorry. That was my mother-in-law. She's bringing my son. We're at his therapy appointment here in town. But I mean, I really didn't appreciate that, and you don't know what it feels like. People don't know what it feels like. There's something going on with the bullying if the students were like, well, we would joke about
We would joke about him shooting up a school all the fucking time, dude. We would joke about it. We would fucking joke about it, man. Let's joke about someone probably killing everybody in the school. Let's joke about it. We think that's okay. Well, that's okay because he turns out to be mentally scarred for life, and he decides to kill the next grade of students after we graduated. That's cool. That's completely fucked. But I mean, mental health. Mental fucking health, you guys. Mental health. Mental health. Mental health.
We have the same rates as all the other developed countries. We just have more guns, and 130 different studies have borne out that more guns equal more gun homicides.
Okay. More guns equals more gun homicides. Okay. What about all the illegal guns? What you really need to do next time, Mr. Ooger Booger, is you need to go into your little statistics that you get from the New York Times, right? And you need to find how many people kill people with illegally obtained weapons, and how many people kill other people and murder other people with legally obtained firearms. An illegally obtained firearm would also be a firearm that you took from your parents' house. I would consider that illegally obtained because it was you accessed it illegally without permission of the owner, which is your parents or your grandparents or what have you. But I mean, I digress. It wasn't mental health. It was the fact that the guy illegally bought a firearm, and despite his mental health not being, up to par, But people slip through the cracks, and shit like that happens, and you need to stop with your straw man argument about how and about how mental health is not a valid point when it comes to mass shootings, and get more statistical analyses on this thing, and find out which ones, which killings and which mass shootings were illegally obtained firearms, which ones were legally obtained firearms. A lot of times, they are illegally obtained, and people are mentally ill. So, stop. People that legally buy a firearm are not 100% going to shoot up a school. You need to stop with this argument. It's bullshit.
Okay. Now, but even if you were to take that as fact, could they have done something about this particular shooter in Parkland, Florida?
No, because obviously he probably joked about it a lot, so nobody took it seriously. But also, people were like, "Oh, yeah, I think you would shoot up a school," and they're not going to take him seriously if he was a jokey kind of guy that thought he was creepy or whatever. He might have made a lot of morbid jokes. There are a lot of morbid people out there when it comes to making jokes, and I find that it's ridiculous that any of the signs showed it. Obviously, if he saw a therapist, if he had a child psychologist in high school, maybe they would have caught it. Maybe they would have been like, "Well, this guy's mentally disturbed. I'm going to, write to the FBI that a kid in high school is mentally disturbed, because the FBI doesn't have more things to worry about. With all the hacking, issues that have been happening, and all the other stuff that's been going on. The FBI has been busy, you guys. I'm not gonna lie, the FBI has been really busy these last few years. And the fact that Mr. Cenk Uygur Booger is, saying all this stuff is, it's sort of undermining. It's devaluing the FBI. It's devaluing our mental health, the mental health of citizens, and it's also devaluing the integrity of those that uphold and believe in constitutional law in the United States of America. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. Let's continue.
A lot of people reported that he was creepy, and they were bothered that he kept talking about guns and killing small animals. We're really going to take away the guns of every creepy person in the country? I vote yes. But my guess is the
Again, this shows a bias for Mr. Uygur Booger. Creepy people deserve to not have firearms. I mean, you look like Edgar Allan Poe, motherfucker. You don't deserve a gun just because you look creepy, dude. You look creepy. I mean, Cenk subjecting himself to biases based on the looks of a person is similar to racism in my book. Wouldn't you say?
NRA, and a lot of people are going to vote no, and every Republican in the country, at least the politicians, are going to vote no.
Of course they're going to vote no, because you can't base a person's merits on how they look, you fucking idiot. Dumbass. I swear, dude, I just want to, slap the shit out of this guy in a cartoony fashion to where his eyeballs just, pop out of his face, because it looks like they could pop out any moment whenever he's got his eyes like that. It's funny.
Killing small animals, you know what conservatives will call that? Hunting. Okay?
Of course they'll call it hunting. They'll also call it, what's it called again? Whenever you, kill small animals around your house. Oh, extermination! Oh my god. You ever heard of, people that own their own property and they kill the small rodents on it because they're a menace? Mice, raccoons, squirrels. You ever taken a BB gun to a squirrel because it was getting inside your house, inside the top of your house, shitting in there, tearing up, all the stuff inside the top of your in your attic? I mean, yeah, I've witnessed it before. I've seen it. Have you? I mean, just because he's like, oh yeah, I killed a small animal with a gun, that's completely different than going and be like, oh well, I caught a raccoon in a mouse trap, and then I decided to tie it up and muzzle it, and then I took a handsaw and I sawed off all of his limbs, right? And then I decided to burn each limb, to stave the bleeding off, and then from there I decided to slowly make little nicks and cuts in his torso, and torture him that way, and and then pull his teeth one by one, and slowly and then burn his fur so that he would be naked, and then decided to finally just chop his gonads off, and then after that I decided to stick a catheter in where his penis was, and then make him pee through that, and then decided to stick a knife in his butthole and then twist it a couple times to see what would happen. And I mean, and that's completely sociopathic. That's a sociopath. And this guy was killing small animals. Okay, he was killing small animals. But was he torturing them? That's the difference. No, he wasn't torturing them. He was killing them. No language suggests that he was torturing small animals. That's completely different. That's the mark of a sociopath. But Cenk is a fucking idiot. Doesn't know the difference between a sociopath and a person that's exterminating menaces around the house or your property. Wrong. City kid doesn't understand anything.
I mean, Mitt Romney bragged when he was running for president that he killed small animals, rodents.
Oh my god, he killed small animals, rodents. Oh my god, had to kill a rodent.
Vermins, or whatever you call them. So, there's no way we would have taken that guy's gun away
Exactly. There's no way we'd have taken that guy's gun away because that's a straw man argument that is not plausible and it's not upholdable by the FBI or any Department of Justice agency in the United States of America. Is preposterous that he is even suggesting that the guy should have been had his gun taken away because he was creepy and he decided to kill rodents that were infesting his home.
Based on this evidence. So what is the standard for taking a gun away from